Hey, good afternoon everybody. So as I mentioned on the previous video, it is about time to start the fall garden. Actually, I'm probably a bit past when I should have started some of these things. My average frost date, first frost date for the fall here where we're at in Western Maryland, Zone 6B, is October 18th. You can look up your frost date for your area if you just Google what's the frost date for, and then put in your zip code, and you'll get plenty of links there. Most of them, I think, come up for like the Farmer's Almanac and some other things. There's also different apps that you can use to find out what your frost date is. So, whichever is your preferred method to find out your frost date, or maybe you already know it for your particular growing zone. But you want to check and see, how many days you have left until your average first frost. Again, it's just an average. It could happen before that date, or sometimes it happens much later. And now my neighbor's going to start weed whacking or something. So my average frost date for here is October 18th. And that is 78 days from now. So some of the things that I'm looking at planning. All right. I think we need to wait till this is done. Okay, we're back. The neighbor was weed whacking or something, there was a lot of noise, and I was afraid it would interact with the camera too much or with the mic. So took a break there for a minute. So if I repeat anything, I apologize. And also, unfortunately, I didn't get on the camera. By the time I ran around with the camera, it was gone. But I just saw the biggest European hornet that I have ever seen. I mean, it must have been like that big. It had just killed a cicada and was carrying the cicada up the tree. And the cicada was as big as it was. It was pretty scary looking. The European hornets, sometimes on the old internet, they get confused with the Asian hornet that you've heard about recently on the news, that it's showed up in Northwest America and Canada. But we have the European hornet, which is similar looking, just lighter in color. We've had them around here for several years. They are scary looking. They're not as aggressive as the Asian hornets are, as long as you don't mess with them. I don't think they mess with you, but I see them buzzing about in different areas around the yard and garden from time to time. I've never seen one that big. And the fact that it was carrying a whole cicada up the tree, like I heard something rustling, like it was moving the branches over here where I have some honeysuckle here on the fence that's kind of died off, but the branches were kind of doing that. I thought it was like a little bird or something there. I turn around and here's this European hornet flies across to the maple tree with this big, holding on to this big cicada, and then lands on the trunk of the tree and goes running up the tree. Grabbed my camera, ran around there, but by the time I got around where I could get a good camera angle, it was gone. And I waited for a few minutes, and I don't know where it went. But so had that little bit of drama going on. Anyway, back to the fall garden stuff. So there's I think I was saying that so you can check online to see when your last frost or when your first frost date is for your zip code. I have about 78 days to my first average frost date, and so I'm looking for different seeds I can plant that will either be done by then or do well in the cold weather, and can handle some light frost. Things like broccoli, cabbage, and there's other things like cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those kind of things. Kale do well with some light frost. It actually improves the flavor. Now I'm not going to put kale in yet. I do have some to plant, but I'm going to direct seed that. That comes up a lot faster than say cabbage or broccoli. Now cabbage can take 90 days or so to come to a full head. So I'm going to start some inside and probably let them grow inside for about a month, and then I will transplant them out here towards the end of August, because today is August 1st, and see, you know, how it does. There was some that I planted last year as well, and it didn't actually form a head before winter came. But then we had such a mild winter that the red cabbage and some of the green cabbage actually survived over the winter, and then started forming the heads this year, even though the chickens had been in there and pecking at them and whatnot. Although the chickens did not mess with the red cabbage. But I had 4 red cabbage that survived over winter, and the chickens, and it formed heads. I did lose 2 to cabbage worms, because when I covered it with the tool on that video that I posted earlier this season, I had unfortunately left an opening. I didn't have it cut long enough, and so some of the cabbage moths got in there and laid some eggs. And there were 2 heads that had quite a bit of worms on them. And so what I ended up doing was just pulling those 2 heads to save the other 2. And the other 2 came along, and I harvested them actually earlier this week. Got 2 nice red heads of cabbage and made some fantastic coleslaw. So I'm not as concerned on whether the cabbage gets done or not, you know. It's something that I'm gonna see what happens with it, see if I can get it done before the heavy frost and really cold weather comes. Same thing with the broccoli, and start them inside. So I've got green cabbage, red cabbage, and some broccoli that I'm gonna start inside. That I've got these pots here that I'm gonna fill just a few plants. I'm only doing 12 total out of red, green cabbage, and broccoli. So won't have a whole lot. So we'll see what happens with those. I am gonna plant some radishes. Radishes are pretty fast growers. I know last year I planted some in August and was harvesting them in early September. So I'm gonna start some now, and then maybe in a couple weeks plant some more. Some of these seeds are older, so I'm gonna just try to use them up. Now, if you're planting older seeds, each year their germination rates are gonna drop. After 1 year, you're probably gonna still get, you know, the majority of them will germinate and pop up, but each year it'll drop, you know, by a certain percentage. By accident, earlier this season, I had actually planted some beets that were 5 years old, and I don't know how they got mixed into my 2-year batches that I've got here. This is the seeds that I've had over the last 2 years. But somehow I had one in there from 2015, and I planted those, like, I think 2 or 3 little rows. They were only 4 feet wide, so I didn't have that many in there. But only about 4 of the plants came up after 5 years old with a direct sow. Now, you could probably get a higher germination rate if you did, you know, started them inside with some extra things that you can do. But I had just direct seeded them. So just consider that, you know, after 1 year, don't throw your seeds away. After 2 years, don't throw your seeds away, because you can still get some of them to pop. And if you've got some extra spaces in your garden, throw some in there, and maybe you'll get, you know, 60% to come up, 70%. It really depends on the type of plant. If you're doing something like onions, onions generally have a much lower germination rate if you're growing them from seed. So if your seeds then are 2-3 years old, then, you know, you're gonna get very few probably to come up at that point. But a lot of the stuff that I'm planting here have high germination rates to begin with. So I think I should get quite a few of them to pop up, since they're, you know, a year or less old, or 2 years or less old. I'm gonna try planting the Szechuan Radish again. These were the ones that I did the video on earlier this year, and had planted some, but I think because we had that really hot July, by the time these, and really late June was pretty hot too. This is more of a cooler weather crop, this variety of radish, and they never filled out. So I think the heat really kind of killed them off. So I've got another package, so I'm gonna put a few more of these in, see if the second batch does better, and then I will probably then in succession sow again towards later August, and see if I can get some maybe late September when it's cooler. So today, be putting in the cabbage and the broccoli for the indoor planting, radishes and beets outside, as well as some more cilantro. I've got some regular cilantro, and I've got slow bolt cilantro. So we'll just put some of those in. I've got some that's coming up now, but when I planted the herb bed earlier this year, I just kind of threw in the seeds when I did it, and they grew really thick, so none of the plants got very tall. All of my cilantro are like this big, which still works. I can go through and cut some off when I'm making my stuffed poblanos, the chili rellenos, which are very good. So I still have cilantro out there to use, but I want to get some more growing in there and see if I can't kind of just keep the crop going into the fall, and then have some extra that I can dry to use over the winter. And then I also have cumin seeds, and these I think take 60 days to get to the seed point. So we'll see if we can get some of those to come up, and see if I can't harvest some cumin, because we do use a lot of cumin here. And the other thing, maybe you may or may not know, that cilantro is also coriander. You know, in the US we just refer to it as cilantro, but I think in Europe it's more referred to as coriander. And coriander seeds, if you let these go to seed, or if you have a problem with your cilantro where it's been hot and it grows up real fast and then bolts, you know, don't just pull it out, because if you let it go to seed, you can pull the seeds and dry them, and then have coriander seeds, which is used in a lot of Indian cuisine, and a lot of other dishes. You'll find recipes for coriander seeds. So, you know, save yourself some money by getting some seed. You know, it's a dual purpose. You can use the leaves for cooking. I know a lot of people don't like cilantro. Either you love it or you hate it. But coriander has more of the seed itself, tastes much less like what people hate when it comes to cilantro. There goes the neighbor again with the noises. It's got more of a nutty flavor, and especially once you've maybe browned it in a pan or dried it and then grind it up and use yourself some coriander seeds or powder in you know, different dishes. So something else to think about. So anyway, I'm gonna get to planting and get this beginnings of the fall garden going. In the future, I will be adding some lettuces and mixed greens, things that I want to wait till some more of the heat passes for August. It's things that I will probably plant towards the middle of the month. So in a couple weeks, I'll add some more things and just kind of start filling in these spots where other things have finished up. Like my zucchini's done, so I'm going to use that bed. My cucumbers are done, so I'll use that bed. And then I've got some other empty spots here and there where, you know, either the rabbits ate my all my Swiss chard, what was left of it, and so I've got some spots there that I can fill in with some of these other things. And, you know, take time to find all the spots in your garden that you have uses for. Sometimes even if you just want to plant a few seeds and just have enough for maybe a couple of meals, sometimes it's worth it. You can, you know, if you're not using that garden spot, you want to throw a few beets or radish in there, and then, you know, a couple months later you got something else that you can pull, and just keep that season going as long as possible. So I just wanted to show you this. This bed up here in front that you can't see on the camera view is where the zucchini used to be, but along the edges I had planted the dill and teddy bear sunflowers, and some of them, the teddy bear sunflowers, didn't really come out that teddy bear looking, but this one here, look how cute that is, and fluffy. Just want to give it a hug. So teddy bear sunflowers, they grow about 3 feet tall or so, and they get these nice little fluffy heads on them. Oh, and they smell good. but I kind of wanted to go over what I'm putting in to the fall garden and some of the options that you can look at for your particular locale. So thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. If you have any questions on fall gardening, feel free to comment below or on our Facebook page, and I will answer them and try to give you any help or advice that I can from my gardening experience. Can you hear the engine? I don't know if this is coming up on the microphone, revving their car engine over there. It's a weekly occurrence. So that's it. Thanks for stopping by, checking out the video. Please subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you again soon. Hope you're having a great day. Namaste.